Hello, I've had a question in Unit 2, Lesson 5 about question number 31. So, will a football kicked 14 meters per second vertically, 9 horizontally? So that means we have projectile motion. So my horizontal information is initial velocity of 9 meters per second to the right. Vertical information is V1, and that's 14 meters per second up, and you got to keep track of your directions. Will it clear a bar 3 meters high? So high means we're dealing with vertical. So delta D equals 3 meters. That's up. 20 meters away, delta D equals 20 meters to the right. Solve it in two different ways. I'm really not worried about solving it in two different ways. I'll talk about the two different ways, but I'm not going to solve it two different ways. Because if we look at our horizontal, the only piece of information missing is time, and we can solve for time. But if you look at the vertical, acceleration equals 9.81 meters per second squared down, we can also solve for time here. Okay? Are they going to be the same? I don't know. And I'll tell you, actually I do know. I know they're not going to be, because this is the difference here. So when we talk about all this information, 14 meters per second vertically, that's a fact. So I'm just going to add this in. You don't have to do it. I'm just emphasizing this. That happened. 9 meters per second. That's a fact. That was measured, provided information. We want to know, will it clear the 3 meters? This is not a fact right here. All right? 3 meters is, hope, let's call it. All right? So it's not a fact. So it's not actually, it did not actually happen. All right? So technically, delta D is a question mark. All right? We don't really know what happened. We know what hopefully happened. So that means that we can, in fact, then, if we go to the other side, though, the 20 meters away, that's a fact as well. That's measurable. So what we really want to know is, hopefully, did it have a height of 3 meters? So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that delta D and the verticals are unknown. That means that we can go ahead and solve for our time of flight. So 20 equals 9t. So we find that time, 20 divided by 9. So we know the flight time is 2.2 repeated seconds. All right, so there's our flight time. And that can go into our vertical information because time is the only thing that's transferable. So what formula uses these three? And we find that it's delta D equals V1t plus 1/2 AT squared. Now I've got to be careful because I have an up, and I have a down. So I've got to figure out which direction am I going to call positive. I'm going to go up as positive this time. All right, so delta D, that's my unknown. I want to know if it's 3 meters high. We don't know that yet. Initial velocity, so the football was kicked upward. So that means the 14 is a positive. It's going to fly for 2.22 seconds plus 1/2. Now acceleration was down, so that means it's a negative 9.81 and 2.22 squared. So now we're just going to punch that into our calculator and figure out what value that comes out to be. And after I punch it into the calculator, I find that the delta D is 6.9 meters. It's a positive, so it must be up. So we know that after the 2.22 seconds, if I've calculated everything properly, we know that the height of the ball is going to be 6.9. So if I create a bar here, so here's the football post. It's 3 meters tall. Here's my football. Yes, it's round. When we kicked it, we found out that the height at 20 meters or at 2.22 seconds, all right, we found that the height was 6.9. So it tells me that it's greater than 3, so therefore it will clear the bar. All right, If the answer came out to be anything less than 3, so 2.8, 2.9, or a negative number, and yes, you can get a negative number. If you end up with a negative delta V, this is what's happened. The ball landed right here, but because our mathematical equations are quite happy to solve, that's when it would have reached it, so you would have had a negative height. So it means it landed well short. It wasn't even in the air at 2.22 seconds. It was on the ground for a while. So that's what happens for a question like this if you get a negative answer. So it all comes down to that interpretation, but sometimes a sketch helps you keep that clear. So anyway, that was a bit of extra. In the end, ball will clear the bar with 3.9 meters, tons of clearance. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to clarify them.